Okay, I am doing a documentary about the experience of a BFA dance major involved in the production of this fall's DancePlus. I hear that you choreographed a piece for the concert. What can you tell us about it?
So, I originally choreographed Moth for a professional dance company here in New Jersey called Nimbus Danceworks. The artistic director is Samuel Pott, and he had asked me to choreograph a dance. So he gave me a piece of music last year, and I loved the piece of music, but I didn't think it was appropriate for, he wanted me to choreograph a solo for himself, and I think solos are really hard. So it was like around 12 minutes long, and the music I loved, but it just seemed too big for a solo. So I kind of put that music aside and told him I couldn't choreograph to that piece of music. And then he gave me two other pieces of music by this composer, Judd Greenstein. And I loved the first piece of music. It seemed like it was fluttering to me. There were all these fluttering sounds in it. So that's kind of how the piece started. I had only had 5 rehearsals scheduled for the spring before he had to perform it with his company. And that day, in about 5 hours, I choreographed 3/4 of the dance. And it was the most choreography I'd ever done in one rehearsal in my life. And it was kind of weird because I was jet lagged and I hadn't slept for about 36 hours. But for some reason it just kind of poured out of me, and I just kept on dealing with the image of this fluttering like moth, and I was thinking about moths from the fluttering sound and how moths are attracted to the light, and when they go to the light they get burned and die. And how we are attracted to things in life that aren't necessarily the healthiest thing for us, and sometimes we know we shouldn't be doing whatever that behavior is, but we just can't help it. You know, it's just the way people overeat, or, you know, you have that one extra piece of chocolate, and yeah, of course, sometimes it's just an extra piece of chocolate, and then you can resist next time. But I just was kind of dealing with those kind of images in my mind about just kind of addiction or being attracted to things that aren't necessarily so healthy for us, or maybe the best choice. And then I came to rehearsal a week later and almost finished it, but at that rehearsal, one of the women was doing a lift with Samuel, and her knee buckled and she couldn't dance the rest of the rehearsal, and I thought it was going to be okay, and she came back the next day and she had ripped her ACL and probably was never going to dance again for the rest of her life. So thank God we had all the dance so far on a video, and then Sam brought in a woman that he knew from the Martha Graham Dance Company, and she learned the whole dance off the video, and then I finished that dance that next rehearsal. So that was the kind of the story of the 4 rehearsals, and then they performed it, and performed it a couple times, and I really liked it, but it was challenging to work with ballet dancers because they have a different kind of sensibility, and they don't have as much weight to their movements, and I mean, they're beautiful in their line, and it was very gorgeous to watch, but I kind of wanted to see what, you know, more modern dancers would look like in the movements. So I had a video of it about 4 weeks ago, I guess, after Urban Bushwoman had finished their residency here at Rutgers, and Stuart Longeway was the other guest artist who's been working with the students, and so after they had finished, I started working with my 5 dancers, and I gave them 2 rehearsals to learn everything off the videotape, and I didn't give them any idea of what the movement was. I just wanted them to take off the videotape what they could absorb and make it their own. That's what they do, because I think that's a very good skill to have. I mean, I could have taught it to them because I made up almost all the movements, that was the thing that, I work differently for every piece, and this piece I actually made up a lot of the movement and then asked the dancers to manipulate it originally. That's what how I came up with it. So I knew most of the movements, and then they've just been running it, and I've been coaching them for the past 3 weeks, and that's kind of the story of Moth.
Okay. How would you describe your choreography for this dance?
I made up an arm gesture phrase because I was thinking of fluttering and, wings flutter, so obviously kind of like our arms are our wings in a human body. So I made up this arm phrase, and so it's kind of more gestural in some ways, but then I made up 2, 3 full-bodied movement phrases that kind of, in my mind, were darting around the space, and sort of the way moths they don't necessarily, their pattern is not, it's very kind of indirect and haphazard if you watch moths fly around, and then also a sense of sort of hovering. So those were kind of my images of making up the movements. Yes, that's how I describe, I guess, the movements.
Okay. For those of us who've never been in a show, can you tell us a bit about the process for creating, teaching a piece for performances?
This process for them was that they got the DVD, and then one of the dancers, I forget who it was, made copies for everyone else, so then they could watch it. And we had 4 different laptops and 2 different TVs going on, because there's a series of duets and trios and solos, so not everybody could be watching at the same time. So everybody had their own copy, and that was the process of learning the movements. Like I said, I think it's a very good skill to learn how to do, because actually, I don't know if you know the story about how David Parsons got into the Taylor Company, is that he was an understudy apprentice in the company, and then he had to, someone got injured, and they gave him a videotape, and he had to go into a rehearsal studio by himself and learn the whole dance in 2 hours, and came back and danced it. So it's not an easy thing to take movement off of videotape and try to make it real to your body, but it's the process that professionals use tremendously.
Lastly, what advice would you give, or what would you say to those who have never seen a dance performance but are interested in coming to see DancePlus?
I guess the first thing I'd say is just come with an open mind, and don't necessarily have a series or a set of expectations, because I think whenever you have expectation, then when it's not fulfilled, you're always disappointed. So it's like, if you come to see this dance thinking you're going to see moths on stage, and then you kind of sit there and kind of go, well, they don't look like moths to me, and why are they doing that? Then you've then put your own expectation on my dance, and why don't you just watch my dance and just see it for what it is. And I think that often when people go see modern dance concerts or any kind of dance concert, they want to see a story, and they want to make sense of it. They want it to be a literal experience, and that's not what dance is. Dance is a physical, abstract art form. I think if you spend your whole time in the audience trying to understand it, then you're never really going to experience it. So I just think if you just keep an open mind and it is what it is, just watch it, and whatever maybe you like watching one person, maybe you like watching a couple, maybe you like to just listen to the music, maybe, I don't know, dance, maybe you like the costumes. There's just so many things you can experience, and don't be frustrated, because sometimes in dance there's a lot going on, and that can be frustrating to people because they don't see everything, and that's what I actually love about going to see dance. Good dance is that I don't catch it all the first time, and I want to come back to it a second time and a third time and see new things in it that I've never seen before.
So thank you for your time, Randy James. I can't wait to see your piece.